folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Making this video in the morning because we have our meeting today. You'll be watching it in the afternoon or evening or something like that. So I don't have time. I can't conduct a huge meeting with a couple hundred people and make content. So I'm going to try to do it while I'm taking loads over. It takes 2 or 3 trips of stuff to get to the meeting to take all the things over there. How much longer do we have till we see digital money? I kind of think it's less time than you think, but I want to put a little asterisk there, but I think that we will probably see central bank digital currency, or at least a lesser form of that. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, soon. The Fed Now program is already out, and they have been publicly selling it as a way to transfer money digitally, instantly, between banks and big corporations. But if you read their literature, it mentions also households, which is private individuals. We've also seen just this week 2 more banks failed this week. The Fed, they raised interest rates. They're saying they'll probably have to raise them at least 1 more time. Jerome Powell said that they don't expect inflation to get down to a manageable level for at least 2 more years. We're seeing all the signs really that we're headed for some hard times. Of course, there's been all these predictions that we're heading into a recession, which we know we've already been in one. We've been in one for a while. But then now the Fed is like, you know what, we think now that we can avoid it. I also noticed that a report came out, that the stock market this past week had the most days positive since just before the 1987 crash. Like, the last time it had that many days in a row positive was when there was the stock market crash of 87. So we're seeing indicators just all line up everywhere that we're probably in for an even bumpier, rough ride than what we've already been in when it comes to economic problems. Well, that definitely affects central bank digital currency. So going back to the Fed Now program, it's not CBDC per se, but the Fed, if you're part of that program, even though it's not digital currency, it still allows the Federal Reserve to see what you're doing with your money. It gives them access to your accounts, and the transfers and stuff are done digitally. Well, I mentioned the other day, a good friend of mine works for a bank, and that bank was telling them that they were going to start allowing the employees of the bank to convert their personal banking accounts over to a Fed Now account voluntarily if they want to. I suspect we'll start seeing a very slow rollout of this over the next weeks or months. Chase Bank's having problems, Wells Fargo, a lot of big banks are having problems. We're going to see this slow rollout most likely, where people can opt in to having their regular bank account be a Fed Now account. And they're going to say, well, it's like having a PayPal account, but it's FDIC insured and all this kind of stuff. You can transfer money instantly. It works great. Most of the people, I'd say a lot of people that have the option will switch to it because they're going to sell it great. That's not necessarily CBDC, but it's definitely getting everybody in place for that. And if you see a soft rollout and a lot of people signing up for it, I think at that point we would be a short time away from something happening with the U.S. currency. We had another country this week decide they didn't want to be part of the U.S. dollar and go with the Chinese currency. And then I think it's next month that BRICS is going to start, rolling out their gold-backed digital currency. We'll see something happen in the economy that just, shakes up the U.S. dollar, and they'll say, listen, the only way we can fix this, only way we can save things is if we switch to the CBDC. And guess what? We already have the infrastructure in place. I know that there's a lot of people saying that, well, they need congressional approval. I don't think so, and the Fed has even indicated. They've never said that they need congressional approval. They said they would like to have a kind of a nod from Congress. You know, that Congress is like, yeah, that's good, go ahead. It's debatable, at the least, whether or not that they actually need, congressional approval on this. And even if they did, if there was some kind of crisis, do you really think the Congress that we have right now would not do it? If there was some kind of economic crisis, I'm pretty sure most of this Congress would say, yeah, let's go ahead and do this. You know, we'll do it now, and then we'll worry about fixing it later. And then, of course, it never happens. I don't think we're actually that far away. Most of the rest of the modern world is pushing full force into CBDC, which indicates that we can't, as a nation, and expect to compete, lag that far behind. I'm not advocating for it. I think it's awful, but, you know, it's just the fact. So it's going to happen. Now, everyone still asks, well, what do I do? And I've not seen any clear-cut answers. So I don't know either. There are temporary solutions. You know, I've talked about the gold-backed bank that I've mentioned several times, UPMA.org, or is it UPMA.com? United Precious Metals Association. They are actually act as a bank outside of the FDIC system. They're not part of the Federal Reserve. They have their own insurance through Lloyd's of London. It's actually better than FDIC insurance. That is a way to offer a temporary fix. I don't know that that would be long term, but it certainly could buy you some time. You can get a debit card so that you can purchase with it, and it's all gold backed. But long-term solutions I don't have. You know, like if your income comes from the government because of retirement or some sort, I don't have a solution. And I think that they know that. I think we're going to see people. You just have to sign up. I think the big thing that we need to try to avoid is using it a lot. The big problem is how do we use it on transactions that we don't want to be tracked. And it's not because we're doing things illegally or doing some kind of criminal act, but the way they are, you know, if I decide to go buy a couple of months supply of food, I don't want the government knowing about that, because the way they are right now, they may, you know, start viewing me as some kind of horrible threat. I'm sure they already do. Or if I decide to buy a couple of cases of 9mm, which, you know, you can do if you go to that link down in the description below with Palmetto State Armory. Offers some really good deals for your sportsman's outdoor gear. But seriously, I don't want them to know that. So we have to come up with solutions to that. And if cash becomes obsolete, that's going to create a problem. Again, not complete solutions, but working on developing relationships with local businesses could be beneficial. I have talked to several businesses around here, and they're kind of I don't know, and then I start really having the conversation with them. They're like, yeah, you know, I probably would accept, you know, things like gold and silver instead of currency. I probably would. And you're not going to get that with everywhere. You're most likely never going to get it from the big businesses, but local mom and pop shops, possibly. We also need to work out how to barter and trade with each other. Again, not a solution. Figuring out how we can pay things like property taxes. Some places will accept gold and silver. Most don't. There are some states that's trying to pass laws to allow it to happen. We're being put into a corner by this and many other things that's going on. We're being put into a corner. I think that's also being done on purpose. And we have to have some solutions that I wish I could. I wish I could get on here and say, this is what you need to do, this will fix the problem, you won't have to worry about it. But I don't have that. No one at this point does that I can tell. The main thing I think that's going to help us the most is not being hyper-dependent upon any system. You know, if they say, well, we're cutting off your electricity, or you can't buy gasoline anymore, or you can't go to the grocery store, or you can't go to the doctor. How many people could say, okay, that's going to be tough, but we can still survive? And I think if you're in that place and you have a community around you that's doing the same thing, you know, your tribe, it's going to make it more easily, you're easily able to do this, to say, fine, cut me off from the outside world. I'll be on my own. It's going to be hard. You need to have your own kind of infrastructure built in. Meaning, do you have a way to take care of yourself medically? At least most things. Maybe not, surgeries and stuff, but can you handle most things medically? Do you have a way to, do electricity? Are you able to go without it? Food, all these kinds of things. This is a steep, demand. But we have to start thinking about it, because I believe that this digital currency stuff is coming at us much faster. And once it's here, once it's in place, things I would say are going to start changing very rapidly. That's probably that final straw on the camel's back. That's probably that point, that tipping point. Once that happens, they will be able to enact so much control over everyone that it's just going to blow our minds. Best thing I can tell you is to just work really hard, like push yourself to become as independent as you can, self-sufficient as you can, resilient as you can, and try to develop people around you that can do the same thing also. Because I think we're in for a pretty rough ride. I don't think we're even close to hitting the peak of how bad it's going to be. This digital currency thing, it's going to start moving quickly. You need to get your houses in order and prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.